Welcome to Shanghai, China, for what I've no doubt is going to be a fantastic F1 qualifying session. So then, Ant, it's another Grand Prix weekend, another exciting qualifying session ahead of us. What are you going to be looking out for over the next few minutes?
The first question is going to be who can avoid making mistakes. There isn't much margin for error in qualifying, and you have to bear in mind that the track conditions may have changed since practice, particularly as we've had a few support races in the meantime. If the brake bias settings, for example, don't take this into account, it's extremely easy to lock up a front wheel and cause a flat spot. Just like that, your lap's ruined and you've wasted a set of tyres to boot.
That's the fastest lap so far.
Hamilton, Vettel and De Vries. Well, that wraps up qualifying, but don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow as we head into the Grand Prix.
Bad luck in qualifying. That's not exactly ideal. But there's no points for Saturday. Keep a cool head and make up.
It's time to find out which driver is up to the task of claiming the Chinese Grand Prix. We're here in Shanghai. Shanghai International Circuit then, a 16-corner high-speed thrill ride. The long and ever-tightening right-hander at turns 1 and 2 tests a driver's patience, and the flat, open to the elements location, tests their skill in a crosswind. 2 DRS zones will assist passing, and overtaking is available into turn 1, and of course down the kilometre-long back straight into the hairpin at turn 14. A warm welcome to Anthony Davidson, who's beside me in the commentary box today. Let's talk about De Vries. That was a great podium in the last race, so can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
There are never any guarantees in this business, but certainly the performance last time out would have boosted their confidence coming into this one.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, with Sebastian Vettel starting alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have De Vries, Leclerc, Max Verstappen and Albon, Ricciardo, Grosjean, Hülkenberg and Carlos Sainz, Magnussen, Gasly, Lando Norris and Perez, Stroll, Raikkonen, Daniel Kvyat and Antonio Giovinazzi. Russell and Robert Kubica takes the last spot on the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Okay, go through all the gears if you can. We need to make sure the engagement is okay before the start. We're going to want to put some temperature into the tyres and brakes. We need to keep the engine cool though, so don't go too high with the revs. The rest of the grid is forming up. Be patient and watch for the lights. Pit now. to speed now. Let's get some heat into those tyres. Laps of fuel remaining. This is your final lap of the race. There's only one lap of fuel remaining. hard work out there. That was a strong drive and a good finish. Well done.
The Mercedes team pulled out a fantastic performance today. They should be proud. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
Well, I think it was clear what the main contributing factor out on the track was today: speed. I know it sounds like an obvious thing to say, Crofty, but fast cars win races, and we saw that today with our winner.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes. And now let's take a look at the driver's standings. It's a great result for Lewis Hamilton, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. Now, let's discuss, Ant. Who would you say is a contender for driver of the day?
Well, for me, it's got to be Lewis Hamilton. The multiple world champion may be the boring choice at this point, but you can't argue that he's a driver deserving of his reputation.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. There was also a strong showing from the McLaren team today, as they make their way up the standings.
Great work out there today. Let's have your thoughts. Do you have any comments about the collisions? We've not seen much development progression for your car recently. Why is that? That was a close finish. How are things between the two of you? Great. Well, that's everything.
Remember to select a driver that you consider your rival from the rivalry screen on the workstation. Performing well against your rival can earn you respect and better terms when it comes to our contract reviews.